What's up, guys? News Meta here with Cadigan, who just got done kind of top 8ing Moralltach Monthly number 8. 51 players, and I'll let him kind of go over his deck and how the tournament went.
Yeah, so welcome to Chaos Sorcer, is I think what we're going to call this. I mostly just wanted to call it Chaos.
I call it Turbo Chaos.
Well, there's Lightsworn cards in there. It fits into a channel already, so... but this deck was a lot of fun. I went 5-1 in Swiss, and the only guy I lost to in Swiss made, 4th place, I think, in the end. Top 8, I lost my first round to the guy who ended up placing 2nd, so that was pretty neat.
You lost to Pleiades decks.
I did lose to Pleiades decks.
Yeah, this deck doesn't like Pleiades. It likes everything else, but not Pleiades.
This deck likes making Leo and Beals, and Pleiades eats those for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This tournament was a lot of fun. Like, before I get into the deck, the top 8 was 2 Nimble Mermails, Sidrafact, Mythic Ruler, a Hieratic Ruler, and then a Cat deck, which is card Artifact Trap Tricks, with a Constellar Effect wrapping up the top 8 lineup. So it was
and
pretty
yourself.
neat. Yeah, and me with this stuff. Yeah, the funness aside, I'll get into it. So the Sworn part of the deck, we have double Lumina and triple Raiden. These cards say mill cards. This card says tuner. Together they make Black Rose or Michael, which both out really problematic cards. It's just good. This is like the best normal summon in the deck unless you have other cards in your hand.
Milling in the main phase is good.
Milling in the main phase is good. The fact that it's level 4 is good. It's a tuner is good. It's a light is great. You do play the one Wulf to try to sack people with, or it bricks you, but live by the mill, die by the mill. That's really all there is to say about it. There's a lot of utility in the Chaos package with Raiden in particular. I'll show you later, but with either Mali or with the Chaos Dragons, you can get a lot of utility plays out of the fact that it's level 4 tuner, blah blah blah. So lots of fun interactions, but you definitely live or die by the mill. So into what we actually want to mill for, we have boss monsters, and then backup boss monsters, and then another boss monster. They're all great. Chaos Sorcerer feels lackluster sometimes, but the fact that you can make 6s with Mali is really good. There's definitely times where you don't have enough lights and darks in the graveyard, so sequencing these so you can drop one and then the other if it gets responded to, great. Dad is a fucking truck in this deck because you can normally send more darks after you get him out.
And you can stack it with a Lavalval Chain.
Yeah, Lavalval Chain lets you stack any of these.
And then forget you have Lumina on board and mill it.
Yeah. Don't forget if you have a Lightsworn on board and you mill your stacked boss monster. That's really good. Nothing more to say about those. They're good cards. They win games. Into fun cards that were actually part of the reason I even wanted to play this deck. The frickin' baby Chaos Dragons. I love these cards, and their supers look really good too, but they're really good extenders. I did find that my ratio of them was a little bricky. Drawing 2 of these normally didn't feel great. Drawing 3 was almost certainly GG's.
Would you do 1 and 1 or 1 and 2?
I'm at least thinking of 2 and 1, but I might drop it down to 1 and 1. I think that would still be fine. Further testing. But what I would replace them with is probably either more copies of that, or what's more realistic is a second copy of that at least. Arma and Grepher are great in this deck. Grepher in particular, I found myself wanting that card more than the others. But Arma Knight, if you just don't have any other follow-up plays in your hand, is better just to get things moving.
These are the dumpers. This is the dumpers and dumpies section.
Yeah, here's the dumpies. So the card that people always forget's at 3 in this format, and the format or 2 before this. Mali. Good card is good. You abuse the shit out of it with Plaguespreader, which you run at 2 in this deck. 3 is way too bricky. You want more than 1.
So you can stack for it and still have access to another one.
Yeah, there's some thought to maybe running Krebins and Teleport, but Plaguespreader is just better to mill, which is what you're trying to do in this deck. These 2 cards make Beals, which is great. So many decks just can't do anything with it if you put Beals in ass position. And
yeah, if you just don't let it get 101.
Beals in defense, and then you stall until you can safely resolve a Black Rose to clear the board, and then the Beals survives and you just ram it. It's oppressive in how wally it is against some decks that don't have outs to it or breakthrough skill or something like that.
And then the last hidden amazing monster.
Zephyros. So I kind of bagged on even including this in my own list until I got a lot of utility out of it. So there were several game states where I was down in cards and had like Lumina and one card to discard for like the Raiden in my graveyard. I could bounce the Lumina back to my hand to reuse it next turn, and with the draw that I would have. Or you can bounce the Chaos Baby Dragons for a free summon. There's, if you want to keep one, for example, or bounce any of your oddballs here, get something out. It ended up being very utilitarian. Lavala chaining it wasn't even bad either. That's it for the monster lineup. Those are the dumpies. Now for the other cards that say mill cards, we have Charge and the Recharge. My key to success this tournament was definitely having the skill to draw both of these together. It was great. I highly recommend it.
DB algorithm one-ofs.
Yeah.
Gimme.
Just not much more to say. Resolving any one of these typically goes a long way to set you up. Just by themselves, having them in multiples that you can resolve is bonkers. Because you'll eventually get to Soul Charge. Other cards that we want to search with are Rhoda, and then you have more draw power with Allure, which is fine. Sometimes you really don't want to banish any of the cards that you have. The most free banish you have is the Dark Chaos Dragon. Sometimes you just have to pitch like a Chaos Sorcer or something if you're really desperate. You have Mallies and Plagues, but it feels bad to do that. And then, because Foolish is at the very least neutral with Mally in this deck, you definitely run it. Good card. Good card does do.
Mally, Zephyros, Plague.
Yeah.
There's plenty.
If you have a Plague in your hand, you just normal it and then bring out and then Foolish Mally
Lumina
or something.
targets.
Yeah. All sorts of
targets
utility.
for that card.
Yeah, the whole point of this deck is, the second point of this deck, besides like OT Kane with Chaos Monsters, is just to dump your grave with Mally's Plagues, tuners like Raiden, bring them back, make big monsters. You can't quite make unbreakable boards, but you can make hard to kill boards.
Beals is kind of hard to kill.
Beals is kind of hard to kill. Last cards for the main, we have the Upstarts. There's, counterpoint to running this, because it gives your opponent more life points to Soul Charge on their own. I found it fine. Half the time against Soul Charge decks, I sided them out for that exact reason. I just put in like Maxis or something, but the card helped me get to combo pieces, which is really all you need to do turn one. And the trap lineup, that actually helped a lot. Double Breakthrough Skill and double Wing Blast.
This turns off Dweller.
Yeah, that card also turns off Pleiades. I didn't run into it, but it would help against Ophion. Artifacts, great card. Also would Beals, but I didn't run into anybody else running Beals, which was nice.
Done goofed.
Yeah, Wing Blast is just good against all the cards that say they don't care about destruction or, like Felgrand, and you can at least chain it to that. Yeah. Great cards. This even helps get your Darks in the graveyard if you need them. Like Mally was stuck in my hand several times in a game, and Wing Blast helped me unclog at least once or twice.
Making your opponent top deck emptiness, and then making a board, and then giving him a dead emptiness.
Yeah, good cards. I don't think I'd run more than two of either, but I don't want to run less than two each. So I think it was a good ratio. That was it for the main board. I'll get into the side. Or the extra, rather. Starting with the cards that I didn't really make, but were there in theory. Psyhemuth and Powered Inzektron. I did make them both at least once. They were not super clutch either way. I mean, Inzektron's at least a light and a level 6. In addition to, this occasionally being relevant with the banish effect.
Yeah.
To out boss monsters. I think I only ever used it to run over a Cyber Dragon that he'd protected, and it didn't even end up mattering. Not much more to say than their utility. The fact that that's light does matter occasionally. Like if you have that, you make that, you have Mally on board, you can detach, you can put a light in your grave if you need to with M7. So it's niche plays. It's there just because you need options. Sevens, good cards.
And no Arcanite, which I was surprised at.
No Arcanite. The extra deck was kind of tight. I maybe could have slotted it in.
But you want to get Armades in there too.
There's a few cards I want like Armades in there. I could even argue with another 6 or even swapping out some of the 8s. Just a lot of options. But both of these cards are very good at answering very different board states. The fact that banishes is fantastic against certain matchups. The fact that this just nukes everything and then isn't vulnerable to hands afterwards, also really relevant. Not much more to say. They're good. The main level in the extra deck is 8. We've got Spark Dragon, Scrap Dragon, Crimson Blader, Dark End, and the guy
unit.
himself. In all of my tournament notes for this event, it was either Beals won me the game or Excidon won me the game. It's just really that good. If a deck doesn't have an answer to it, you win just by putting that card in defense and stalling out until you can push past whatever they have on board. Dark End was theoretically good against the hands and stuff that I thought might be floating around and didn't ever really come up. Never made Blader because I didn't run into any of the other high-level decks.
These are important because you can simplify the game state during Soul Charge plays. So
yeah, Spark Dragon helps protect side deck cards like I did side deck Vanities. It also helps protect like Above All Chains if you think you can keep it out there. But good cards are good. I mean, the fact that these are really easily made with Malian Plague, super easy. And then Leo, kind of a boss monster against some decks. It's just big, and the fact that you can just skip your battle phase if you need to keep it around is super relevant. That's about it. Malian Raiden. The 4s, we run all the good ones. Nothing really special. These are pretty much the core ones, aside from that, unless you can run it. Lavalval Chain was super clutch in setting up. Plague Mali, if I had one, needed the other. Say I had like Armageddon Knight, dumped a useless dark, special summon the light baby dragon, made that. It was good stuff. And we do run M7, because Chaos Sorcerer banish something, summon Mali, make M7, put the Chaos Sorcerer back in your hand, summon it again if you can. Super good. Or Recycling Dad, or any other card that you need. It was very, or hand traps. There were several times I tried to mill my sided hand traps and then get this to bounce it back to my hand. Never happened, but the Therio was really nice sounding. But that's it for the extra. Sideboard. You're going to see a common theme here. All right, we have a playset of this hand trap and a playset of that hand trap, and only 2 of that hand trap. But, I mean, really, the name of this format really is if you're not going first, you need to stop your opponent from doing things. Maxi stops the Soul Charge Wombo plays from, like, Mythic Rulers and Heretic Rulers. Flying Sea stops, Pleiades decks. All the artifact variants that try to make rank 5s. Infernity.
You can stop them from, because Break can't pop. I believe Break can't pop your own cards.
I think that's correct.
Yeah.
It came in clutch again. I played against a Noble Knight player, and they have if they don't run Dristan, they have a hard time doing anything without making XYZs. I don't think Crow ever made an impact on any of my games. My matchups weren't really were good for it, but you need it for. I mean, it's even good against like Mythic Rulers. Just hit the dragon after they activate.
Yeah.
So, which you just have to run it.
Or you can, if later in the games, you can hit like the vanillas out of the Heretic player graveyard.
Yeah. And
having only one vanilla that kind of hurts you.
Back row hate. We've got 2 MSTs and 3 decrees. Back row decks. This is no heavy soul charge format. Some decks can just put out a board and then just wall up with lots of back row. So you need responses. MSTs are there for decks that can side the continuous floodgates, vanities, Gozen, rivalry, all those cards that just kind of mess you up. So you need MST, but also stuff like Defissure. You need MST for, or field spells. No one ran Necro Valley, but it would really mess me up if it did. Decrees decree. It's just there. I don't ever actually think I sided it in.
You did against Constellar.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Drew it the turn after you needed it.
Yeah, it was really sick. I thought I would side this in against the artifact matchups, but realized it was just food for their twisters and their ignitions, so I just kept it out. So maybe cutting this down in future iterations, but the Therio was there. And then if I was going first, I'd side those in. Vanity's Emptiness. Just try to build a board, set that up. GG. It's that simple.
So overall, happy with the list.
Overall,
do you want to go through your matchups real quick?
I don't have the list with me. As best I can remember, I played against Noble Knights. I played against, I believe, an artifact variant.
Hat, yeah.
Yeah. I lost to Constellars. That was a hard loss, too. That was a quick 2-0 from their part. Pleiades really does just bonk this deck. So maybe considering citing Chalices in addition to the breakthrough skills is warranted.
Yeah, you need to like start milling, and if they have Pleiades and you just like normal summon Raiden, they just bounce it, and then you have nothing in your graveyard. Like that's your turn.
Yeah, that's it. Really, I think the optimizations at this point need to come from the main board and trying to make it a little less bricky.
Oh, you did play against Infernity as well.
I did play against Infernity, and that was one of the matchups where I pretty much won off of Beals.
Did you win? Did you play Sylvans?
I did play Sylvans.
Okay.
I got kind of lucky in that matchup. They made a questionable rivalry decision, and I had just the exact out. Was able to set up tribute set Mally on top of the only monster I had on board to give me 3 darks to special out Dad to clear their board and then just go off from there. That was a really lucky interaction I had against that deck. That was one I really needed Mexi against. MST is good against that matchup. Wingblast is good. I'm not sure. I think bumping Grepher to at least 2 is the correct play in the main. But other than that, it was a lot of fun. I acknowledged that it was kind of a high roll deck. I just had to mill well to have fun and do well. And for the most part, I did. I acknowledge that, and I would do it again.
Thanks for watching, guys.